Hello. The topic for today is civilization and ideals. Civilization and ideals. I may be looking a bit tired today because I'm making this video late at night. I couldn't get around to it earlier. But I'll do my best. Alright, so in the last video I defined civilization as a jungle impregnated with ideals. A jungle impregnated with ideals. And I stressed that when we talk about civilization, we are talking about shared ideals. Shared ideals. Right. Now, why talk about ideals when we talk about civilization? What are ideals anyway? Why should we care? Why are they important? What is an ideal? Well, some will tell you, I want to be very rich and have a model for a wife, have a yacht. Well, something like that. And yeah, why not? Nothing wrong with it, really. It's some people will call these the personal ideals. But no, these are essentially material goals, and when we talk about ideals as the building blocks of civilization, something that allows it to arise, and achieve something. We're talking about ideals of a different sort. Of a different kind, really. What do I mean? Well, see, if somebody tells you, I'm willing to die in defense of my country, for example, not to be jingoistic or anything, but it's an example. It's a relevant one, I guess. Where somebody tells you, I want to know the truth, no matter what it is. No matter what it is, even if it's unpleasant and not to my benefit, I just want to know the truth, because it will set me free. How are these ideals different from I want to be very rich and have a model for a wife? How are they different, really? Well, in the latter case, these are immaterial goals and standards, aren't they? Okay. Fine, they are. But what's the use of such things? I mean, how do I benefit from some airy-fairy immaterial goals or standards. Well, a man, a wholesome man, most men, I hope, I guess so, yeah. Man has an innate need, an aspiration for a higher purpose in life, a higher meaning of life. Why? Because if he has it, it confirms to him that he is a higher creature, a more noble creature. It sets him apart from an animal. Now, if you were a magician, say, a sorcerer, and you come with a fellow and you just tell a guy, look, I can turn you into a pig. Easy. I'm a magician. Just tell me and, snap my fingers, tell the incantation, and there'll be a pig. Or a dog, Well, I don't think a person in his right mind, with some self-respect left, would go for the bargain, I don't think so. You would not want to be a pig, or a dog for that matter, or a hen or anything. No, you wouldn't, because deep inside that you are more than an animal, or at least you want to be more than an animal. Names of animals, pigs, dogs, they have many connotations that are not very favorable when applied to man, right? Okay. So, an ideal as that thing that helps man in his effort to become more of an angel than a beast, and as a building block of civilization, something that allows for a civilization to take shape, and it makes it possible, really. In this sense, and that's how we will define it, an ideal is an immaterial goal or standard. An immaterial goal or standard. That's right. Things such as respect for truth, love thy fellow man, be honest and keep your word, be fair and just. These ideals actually cannot be proven to objectively exist in the material universe, and sometimes they appear at odds with your material interest and so on. But there is there is enough proof that a civilization is impossible without such ideals. Just impossible. Animals run only by their basic impulses, do not build civilizations, as I'm sure you have noticed. Let's take the ideal of respect for truth, for example. Respect the truth, whatever it is. Whether you like it or not, whether it's for your benefit or against it, just respect the truth. It's an ideal to espouse. Respect the truth. The truth is more important than your other considerations. Wow. Okay, so if you look at this ideal of respect for truth, if you espouse it and you try to live up to it, live by it, it may not always be convenient, actually. It may carry with it a certain burden. And sometimes it forces you to make a sacrifice. It's quite interesting, isn't it? That an ideal, trying to live up to an ideal, may call for discomfort or sacrifice. Well, it seems to be that way, yeah. But you know, I guess there is price to things. Nothing comes for free. Not even civilization. at least all things, I guess. But you see, espousing the ideal of respect for truth gave us modern science and technology, for example. Okay? Because only if you have real respect for truth, only then can you arrive at objective knowledge and understanding, objective truth. One may protest that there is no objective truth or absolute objectivity, or it may be so, but there is enough objective truth, there is enough objectivity out there to allow us, for example, to build airplanes and computers. And it's a popular argument these days among certain people that truth is subjective. It's just, subjective, and everybody has his own truth. Right? We all have noses, but that doesn't mean that is true. You may have a different subjective truth. Maybe you and all others are just dreaming they have a nose. Maybe. All may be in some hypnotic trance. on the issue of noses. But anyway, you see, there are truths. There are truths that are subjective to some extent, and so on. But as I've said, there is enough objective truth to be found out there to allow us, for example, to build an airplane or a computer. And so far I have not noticed that airplanes or computers would be entirely subjective in their construction or makeup. See, if all truth is always subjective, then yeah, you should have subjective airplanes and subjective computers, shouldn't you? An airplane built in the United States may look like the airplane as we all know it, and the airplane built in Australia may look like a fridge. An airplane built in Sweden might look like a platter. But no, it's not that way. It's not that way. There may be some, slight construction design differences, and so on, but they all look more or less the same, because they are all built, on the basis of the same principles of physics, right? So truths can be subjective in some respects and to a certain extent, but if somebody insists that all truth is subjective or even situational, situational truths, what suits me in a given situation, what I see would be for my benefit, is the truth, isn't it? Well, a person with such an attitude is hardly espousing an ideal of respect for truth. He isn't. He is not espousing any such ideal. Now, the materialist likes to argue that these ideals do not represent any higher immaterial principles affecting our existence, but are simply survival strategies that have developed, through evolution and so on. And there is some truth to this in some cases, but it's a limited truth. Most of the time it's a very limited truth. Take the ideal of fairness and justice, for example, right? So the materialist would say, it's just, it's a trade-off, really. You treat others, you're fair to them and you're just to them, and you expect the same of them. You want to be you yourself want to be treated with fairness and justice. So, willy-nilly, you have to treat others the same way. Well, let's look at this really closely, okay? This may be true to some extent if you talk about people of comparable power. But if you talk about a person who is more powerful, who is in a more powerful position than some others, and he knows he can simply get his way with them and make them do what he wants them to do for his benefit, by force, by simple force. And he knows he can get away with it. And there are many people who can, believe me. The number probably is growing happily at an accelerated rate. But yeah, okay. That's I don't want to talk here. But right, why wouldn't he? Why would he not do it? Why would he not simply use force? Why would he go through, the unpleasant complications of having to treat them fairly and justly? He can simply force them to do what he wants them to do. Well, I'm sure we all, we all know the examples from everyday life, from everyday world. Okay? Besides, in so-called rational decision-making, whether to be fair and just to others, even in situations where you don't necessarily have to do it, you're not particularly forced to do it, to act that way, or there is no real threat, as you perceive it, for you if you don't. Well, where is the guarantee that if you treat somebody with fairness and justice, that they will pay you back in kind? How do you know? They may, or they may not, right? And the other thing is, even if they are grateful and they appreciate your fairness and justice, if you are in a relatively more powerful position in life than they are, and they are the weaker ones, pragmatically speaking, you must be aware, you must know that even if they are grateful to you for your fairness and justice, there are not many ways in which they can repay you. There are not many ways in which they can show their gratitude to you that you can get much benefit from. Their gratitude you know would be of little worth to you. Because of their position in life and so on, you know, they cannot help you intellectually, they cannot help you financially. You know, there's little they can do for you that you need or want. I mean, yeah, sure, in a rare case, somebody can just save your life from being run over by a truck or something. But generally, no. You know that they may be grateful, but they're simply not in a position to do much for you that is of any great worth to you. So, in essence, you do not try to be fair and just because of rationality so much. You try to be fair and just because you have espoused it as an ideal. You have espoused it as an ideal. And so, let's close with defining for ourselves, for our purposes here, what an ideal is. An ideal is an immaterial or transcendental, in the sense of transcending the material world or the material interest. So an ideal is an immaterial or transcendental goal or standard that you willingly and consciously assume and believe it to be right and try to live up to it. Thanks for watching.